So, I'm guessing you guys have heard about this major point that keeps sticking to Ron Paul, that people keep attacking him over, that he issued a bunch of newsletters in the 90s in which he made just crazy racist statements. Just like insanely racist statements, like stuff about, you know, black kids being really fleet of foot because and you would know that because if they've ever stolen anything from you or something like this. Let's see here. He said black men in Washington D.C., most black men in Washington D.C. are semi-criminal or entirely criminal. He says that Martin Luther King Jr. sexually molested girls and boys, remarking, "Are we supposed to honor this Christian minister, quote unquote, and lying socialist with a holiday that puts him on par with George Washington?" Oh my goodness, the type of hate in that is just unbelievable. 1993, the newsletter that he was authoring raised the alert about the disappearing white majority. The newsletter referenced to growing birth rate in people of color and expressed a pro-segregation stance with this comment: "It is human nature that like attracts likes, but whites are not allowed to express this same human impulse." That's a dirty one, man. Ron Paul and Rand Paul, you guys both are opposed to segregation, or to integration. Come on, man. That just goes beyond belief. That's beyond the Declaration of Independence, which says that all men are born equal. All men are created equal. What? All white men are created equal? Is that what you meant to say? This is wrong with these people that hold up the Constitution like it's some kind of friggin' Bible. They don't realize that our founding forefathers, they had slaves, all of them. They wrote that shit knowing that they damn well didn't see all humans as equal. So is there room for growth and for evolution in the Bible and in the Constitution? Yes. Has to change and grow with the times. That's why we receive new sacred scriptures, new prophets, right? Either way. Except in the de facto sense, there can be no white schools, white clubs, or white neighborhoods. The political system demands white integration while allowing black segregation. I don't even understand what the fuck he's trying to say there. In 2011, in May, Paul told MSNBC that he would have voted against the Civil Rights Act, which ended Jim Crow. He questioned the act because it took authority away from property owners. Evidently, Paul values the rights of racist property owners over those of African Americans whose housing, employment, schooling, and leisure activities were all dictated by Jim Crow. So do you see how, first off, just explain how his perspective is wrong, and then we'll get into the implications of whether or not that he authored them or whether he did, etc. This is just a wrong position to have. He's got this like super duper fundamentalist, what he calls libertarian, but which is more of just a type of Ayn Randian fascism. Ayn Rand, who created this whole pseudo-libertarian movement. I call it pseudo-libertarian because if you look at Noam Chomsky or someone, he'll tell you what actual libertarianism is. And it's actually social libertarianism, which looks for how to make sure everybody's liberties are protected, but then how to make sure that everybody's liberties are protected in a way that makes everyone socially secure and not have to worry about poverty and death and starvation, etc. So I say pseudo-libertarian because this fake pseudo-libertarian movement, which came from Ayn Rand and supporters of her, evolved out of her experiences with communist Russia. She saw the abuse of the actual fascist Russia. It wasn't communist, it was fascist, because there was a small group of oligarchs who were controlling the state and economic apparatus to oppress the people. That's not communism. She was reacting against despotic leftism, tyrannical leftism, which is not even leftism, it's rightism, masquerading as leftism. And she reacted to that in such a way that she came to America, and she wants the exact opposite. She wants despotic free markets. Pretty much anarchy in the stupid sense of the word and not in the actual enlightened sense of the word. They want no government regulations of anything. Because according to Adam West and these idiots who envision this free market system that's choking our planet, human nature will prevent for corruption and abuse of the system. Even though the system's just entirely based on greed, they will tell you that greed is good. And their points are that because greed is good, everything automatically balances itself. Because my own self-interest prevents me from wanting to oppress people. Because that would then create conditions which are against my self-interest. Well, that only works if you assume that the person who is oppressing gives a damn about morals. And that the people on the other end of the oppressing are going to do something about it. If this oppressor just keeps going on and on oppressing and the people take it and they don't respond in the way that this, Keynesian bullshit dynamics thinks it would, then they just become wage slaves. In fact, I actually think this is one giant conspiracy by ancient, money changers, etc., the money lenders that Jesus called them. I believe this is an ancient conspiracy by them to enslave the world. And they are posing it as free market, when in actuality it's the worst kind of private tyranny. At least when you had a monarchy, you knew who was responsible. You could go and cut the damn guy's head off. You can go and guillotine the fucker if he fucked up. I would prefer that to this condition we have nowadays, where you have private interests who are able to run rampant. We don't even know who's doing it. They run rampant, abuse millions, cause suffering to millions of people on a daily basis from their undisclosed, anonymous, 50-floor New York office. And then they go back fucking home and they go back to sleep and nobody even knows what's been happening. Nobody even knows the wiser. There's millions, there's thousands and thousands of people around the world right now who on a daily basis are causing the suffering of untold amounts of people. And can we do anything about it? Hardly, because we don't even know who's at fault. Because these unchecked private powers have become so strong that they have hijacked all government apparatuses which could ever be used to regulate them. And then you have douchebags like Ron Paul coming up and drumming up support for all these stupid kids for him, thinking that you need no government regulations. They want to take away all the government regulations. Oh, the government's gotten too big. That's the trick of these friggin' money changers. They make it seem like the government is the one that's getting all big, that the government is the one that's encroaching on your rights. That's why at Fox News 24/7 there's this endless stream of attack against Obama, as if Obama had anything to do with anything. Obama, if anything, he's a regulating force against these people who are trying to f*** us over. For f***ing sake. You right-wingers are so stupid. You don't have a iota of brain in your f***ing heads. All you have is a copy-paste track on repeat of Ron Paul's talking points in your head, turning your brain into mush, thinking that his is actually meaning something when it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. Abolish all the departments of education and agriculture and abolish all the government oversight of the economy, abolish Social Security, abolish Medicare, and what exactly is going to take its place? Except utter desolation. Oh, all of a sudden when you abolish all of these friggin' regulations and all these government industries, now all of the resources that are tied up from the taxes, now all of the people are just going to magically take that? Where am I going to get my money? None of the money that's coming out of my pocket is coming back into my pocket. Okay? All that shit's in the hands of the small elite group who are gonna keep it. That shit's not coming back into my pocket. By removing all the friggin' regulation, it's not gonna help me or you. Look what happened in the 80s when they removed all the regulation under Reagan. What happened? The average person continued to get screwed. The average person waged like this all through the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. And then you look at the elites, their wages like this, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. Because the regulations are gone. So there's no oversight, so there's no fairness. So now you just have a small group of sharks consuming the planet. And there's no regulation to stop it. And Ron Paul and you retards want to end government regulation? Christ on a cracker, people. You know, it's just like, it's not even worth it sometimes, I think, because people are just so stupid. Anyway, Ron Paul's philosophy is wrong, and that's why. Because social justice, social equality, social democracy in the workplace, ownership of the rights of the people, and ownership of the resources of the country by the people, these are all ensured by a healthy leftist model. A healthy left-leaning model like anarcho-syndicalism. All of these rights are ensured. All of equality and security and equal ownership is ensured. Why do you want to have a society where a small group of elites are allowed to enact whatever policy that they want? His idea is that by forcing social justice, that's oppressing you? No, you are the one doing the oppressing. If there is a necessity for laws like this, you are the one that's doing the oppressing, and these laws are in response to your oppression. The Jim Crow laws, for example, which were in place, made blacks into second-class citizens. Worse than that, made them into animals practically. And Ron Paul wants to support that as white people's right to live however they please. That's so cold-hearted, Mr. Paul. You really expose yourself for how you are. That's so cold-hearted. You don't care about the poor. You don't care about minorities. All you care about is your, rich white Masonic butt buddies. That's all you care about. So all you people that say that Ron Paul's letters, he had no involvement in it, he didn't write it, or yada yada yada, which I say bullshit too. It doesn't matter if he wrote it or not. The fact that they went out under his name is more than enough. And if you somehow can trick yourself into thinking otherwise, you might as well just give up right now, because you've just fallen into another zombie trap. You've fallen into another brainwashed slave trap. You've not found the answer, found the freedom. The liberation has to be pragmatic. If it calls for times for social conservatism, then you have to be socially conservative, or fiscally conservative. If it calls for times for social, liberalism, like we see now, where you need a new deal. You need a type of new deal like they had in the 30s, which puts Americans to work, where the government comes in and uses its federal power to rearrange things. That's what we need. But the Fox News types are fighting against that vehemently. Why do you think that is? And all you stupid conspiracy assholes are buying it up because they have people like Glenn Beck and Ron Paul and Judge Napolitano on their side. So they falsely lured you into their trap yet again. So you're worthless. Just go hurl yourself off a bridge right now if you can't understand and vibe with what I'm saying. How pathetic, how pathetic, how pathetic. This really is an important and epic video. Please send it to your friends. It's important that people see and understand what it is that I'm saying here. Because it's the biggest trick, and it's leading us right into fascism. It's going to lead us right into the path that we're trying to avoid. Full speed. Faster than we could ever imagine also. So, guys, it doesn't matter if Ron Paul wrote it or not. The fact that they went out under his name is more than enough to implicate this person. They were using race baiting, using, old-fashioned racial stereotypes, and, kind of playing to that, the most shallow and diseased side of the white psyche, playing to their lowest common denominator in order to get money. He was making plenty of money off these newsletters, millions. He put this shit out and people loved to hear it. Because he gave them their sick, twisted things that is in their twisted heads of a lot of these white people out there in this country. I'm not gonna lie. I've talked to plenty of them. Not a majority, a minority of white people, but they're there, who have all these sick, twisted things in their heads. He played to them and he made money off of them like crazy. And you're gonna tell me that he didn't know what was in them? Are you fucking stupid? He was making millions of dollars off of this shit, and he didn't know what he was saying? Really? Wow. Well, you know what? I've got a bridge in Alabama that I'm trying to sell. If you're interested, $5,000 up front, and I'll give you the address. But anyway, in a story which just came out today, in the New York Post, or the Washington Post, excuse me, a former Ron Paul secretary says that he knew all about the letters from the Washington Post, but people close to Paul's operation said he was deeply involved in the company that produced the letters, Ron Paul and Associates, and closely monitored its operations, signing off on articles and speaking to staff members virtually every day. It was his newsletter, and it went under his name, so he always got to see the final product. He would proof it, said Renee Hathaway, a former secretary in Paul's company and a supporter of the Texas congressman. A person involved in Paul's business who spoke on condition of anonymity to avoid criticizing a former employer said Paul and his associates decided in the late 80s to try to increase sales by making the newsletters more provocative. There we go, see? I told you. They discussed adding controversial material, including racial statements, to help the business, the person said. See? There you go. From Reason magazine, I guess. Financial records from 1985 and 2001 show that Rockwell, Paul's congressional chief from 78 to 82, was the vice president of Ron Paul and Associates, the corporation that produced Ron Paul's Political Report and the Ron Paul Survival Report. The company was dissolved in 2001 during the period when most incendiary items appeared, roughly in 1989, 1994. Rockwell and the other prominent libertarian theorists Murray Rothbard championed an open strategy of exploiting racial and class resentment to build a coalition with populist paleo-conservatives, producing a flurry of articles and manifestos whose racially charged talking points and vocabulary mirrored controversial Paul newsletters. So he's doing the same thing that Hitler did, basically. You know, and all of these apologists, Ron Paul apologists, want to act like he's God. Oh no, it can't be him, and he didn't have anything to do with it. He didn't know about it. You guys are so immature. Really. Seriously. Grow up, man. He's making millions of dollars off of it and getting power. You really think he doesn't know about it, or it's not a well planned out strategy? Give me a fucking break. So there you have it. And now that the truth movement, quote unquote, is so popular, he's started to court these people. And instead of using the racial and right tone and words, he's using conspiracy theory type language in order to get them on his side for his absurd faux libertarian movement, which is just a movement, a continuation of the movement of the elite against the poor, against the working class. So the only answer is libertarian socialism, my friends. Look up libertarian socialism, and remember, stay left.